PowerPoint is a software program used for creating graphical presentations in a series of slides, typically projected from a projector, hooked up to your computer that is, onto a screen, which can include text, images, illustrations, recordings, audio, video, and my favorite, animation. Oh, I'll show you all that and more in the next two levels of the PowerPoint 2016 training videos. Now, before I can give you an overview of the PowerPoint 2016 program, I got to open it up first. And to do that, I added a shortcut to that program on my desktop as well as down below on the taskbar. It's right there. See? Hover over it, PowerPoint 2016. If you want to learn how to add those shortcuts to the desktop and the taskbar, you can watch my Windows training video on shortcuts. In any case, a single click down below here to open it up or a double click here. And you can see when I hover over the shortcut on the desktop, I get a pop-up that tells me the purpose of the program, which is to design and deliver beautiful presentations with ease and confidence. Ooh, I'm sold on that confidence. Let's go ahead and double click to open it up. Now, when you open it up, if you don't get this, well, start out slide here, the title slide, and you get what's called a startup screen, you'll want to watch my next training video on customizing the environment, because in there I show you how you can turn that on or off. I keep it off because I want to start right with the title slide here and go from there, and not have that startup screen asking me if I want to start with the blank presentation, which normally I do, so that's why I turned it off. In any case, watch the next training video on that. Here, I want to start up at the top and give you an overview of everything you see here, going from left to right, then top to bottom. So in the upper left-hand corner, you have what's called the Quick Access Toolbar. It's called that because you can quickly access any command on it in a single click. And the commands that I have on it are hover over it, save, and you can see in the pop-up you got the shortcut keys Control S. It's the same as clicking on that button. Then you have the undo, and then you have the repeat, and a few others here that we'll cover in a later training video. And then over in the middle you've got what's called the title bar. It's the title of your file, your presentation, and when you open it up, a blank presentation to begin with, it gives you a generic name, Presentation 1. Which when you save your presentation for the first time, it'll force save as and give you the opportunity to change that and not have it some generic presentation 1 because, I mean, what's that? And you can give it whatever name you want that's, well, pertinent to what you're covering in your presentation, and then also wherever you want to save it on your computer. And then you got a dash and the name of the program in case if you forget, hey, we're in PowerPoint. And then over to the right, you can sign in if you want to connect to the cloud. And then you got the other options like ribbon display options we'll cover later. And then you've got the window option to minimize this down to the taskbar so you can see your desktop, restore the window down, and close out of it. And then below that you have what's called the ribbon. Now up here on the Quick Access Toolbar you have a bunch of commands. Well, not many, but you can add a lot more. But down below on the ribbon you got a lot of commands. But because there's so many commands, it doesn't stack them all onto one tab. If it did, well, the ribbon would come all the way down, quite a ways here. So what it did is it broke them up onto different tabs. Like all the popular commands in PowerPoint are on the Home tab. If you want to insert something, well, go to the Insert tab. And then if you want to design, set transitions in between your slides. If you want the slide to be pushed, wipe, split, animations, that's fun. If you want to animate some objects or text, or you want to start your presentation from the beginning, from the current slide, or if you want to do a review, like adding some comments, deleting comments, or you want to change the views, and here's your presentation views. You got your normal outline, slide sorter, notes page, and reading. And then, well, you got an extra here if you got Adobe here, Acrobat. And then you have what's called the contextual tabs, meaning that when you're working on an object, a shape, or maybe smart art, and you select something down below and you get an extra pop-up tab, that's what's called the contextual tab. It relates to the, in this case, as I was talking about, objects that I'm working on. That'll have special commands that are proprietary in working with the object or the shape or the smart art. And then you have what's called the File tab. Now when you click on that, it wipes everything from what's called the front stage and takes you to the backstage view. In the backstage, you can set up your environment or control the environment of your PowerPoint program. Like down below, you can get some options here that we'll cover later on. You can also print, share it with others, save it, save as. Pretty much things that you do after you design or before you design your presentation, because when it comes to designing it, well, you want to go back to the front stage to design it. Now on these tabs you have what are called groups. You can see you've got a bunch of commands here, but it's sectioned off with these lines from other commands. So within those two lines, that group is known as the slides group, and that one's the font group, the paragraph, and the drawing, and so on. And it has them on all the tabs. And then within each group, if they have any extra commands that are not available, or they are available, but, well, it can't squeeze them all into the group, or they're not as popular, they have what's called the expandable dialog box button, that when you click on that, it'll open up another window. So let me come down here and show you. Click in the text box there, and now that becomes available. So if I'm looking to make some text bold or italics, or I want to know what else is available, click on that, it expands, and you get, well, pretty much the same options as you see here, but in addition to that, other options that aren't available here, like the strike through, put a line through the text that you're typing. Maybe it's some sort of cell that you have and you say, okay, retail was this, put a line through it, and then you give them the real price or the wholesale price or the final price. Let me go ahead and close out of that by clicking cancel. And not every group has extra commands here, but for those that are available, just click on it to expand it and see what is. And let me go ahead and click off the text box here in a blank area. And then down below that, well, you've got your horizontal and vertical rulers, which you can turn those on or off from the View tab, which we'll go over later on. And then over to the left-hand side, you have your thumbnail preview of all the slides that you have in your presentation, versus over to the right-hand side, wherever you have selected over here is your working area for that slide that you just selected. So I'm working on slide 1, and I only got one slide. But if I had a bunch of designs and images, there's a quick preview over here, the thumbnail, and that way I can look at it going, oh yeah, that looks pretty much the same as this one, number 3 or number 4 down below. So quick view, you can go ahead and click on that slide to jump right to it, and then over in the working area, make the change on that slide, and then, of course, navigate through the thumbnails here to other slides you want to make changes to. And then down below, you have what's known as the status bar. And over here it says I'm on slide 1 of 1. And, oh, it's in English, United States. That's great. You also have notes, speaker notes, that when you click on it, it opens up down below where you can click and type in notes about the slide. So that way, when you're giving your presentation, if you want to go ahead while you're designing it, say, okay, like slide 1 here, this is where we do the introduction, and then you add a second slide. You can type in some notes saying, okay, let's do a free handout of some keychains because we're presenting it on keychains. In any case, those are notes for you that you can print off that will guide you through your presentation that you can read or glance at as you're giving it in front of everybody. So it's just for you, and you can go ahead and click on that to collapse it, not see it. Now you've got comments and our different views here. Now these views that you see down below is basically a quick access to those views, as you can come up here on the View tab and see those same views, right? Normal, outline, slide sorter. There's normal, slide sorter. We don't have the outline here, reading view, but the more popular ones you can jump right to. And of course, to begin your slideshow. And then you've got your zoom feature. So right now, if you want to zoom in on the text, or you're working on something that's kind of minute, or you want to zoom out to get a distant view of it, in any case, you can click and zoom out and then zoom in. Oh, that gets huge. And you can also click on the 100% and get more particular without clicking and dragging. You can actually do it numerically by typing it in. Look, I need it to be 99%. Hit enter, and well, there you go, 99%. And then if you want to go back to the default, let me get my pointer out of the way, of where it was before we started changing our zoom options here. Well, you just want it to fit the area here. That's the size of our screen. Go ahead and click on Fit Slide to Current Window. There we go. There are a few things I want to show you when it comes to your PowerPoint environment that you can customize. The first one is down below this orange bar, the status bar, and it gives us some stats and also some commands that we can click on. Like one is that the presentation is going to be in English, and if you don't want to see that on the status bar, or remove some of these commands like notes, that when you click on it, adds the notes down below. You can type in the notes or speaker notes for that slide, and you can print those off later on and read from those speaker notes, one for each slide during the presentation, which we'll cover in a later training video. Let's click on that to collapse that. In any case, to customize these commands or stats, right-click anywhere on the status bar, and whoa, everything is checked except for the theme. So if you want to get rid of something like the language down below English, go ahead and uncheck it, and it's gone. Of course, you can check it to re-add it, but let me uncheck it and leave it alone, and click off. Next is you can customize your office theme, and up at the top it's this bland white. And that's not the default. You're probably used to the orange up at the top for the PowerPoint. And to customize that, we can go backstage and click on File, go down to Options, and up here, the General tab is selected by default. So just come down to the section called Personalize Your Copy of Microsoft Office, and it's not PowerPoint, it's Office. So whatever you do in this section here is going to update all the Office applications installed on your computer. Not just PowerPoint, but also Access, Excel, Outlook, and so on. So for the Office theme, the default, well, the one that I have set here is white, but if I change that to, ooh, colorful, you also get the other option, dark gray, all those different choices. Let's go ahead and select colorful and click OK, and there you go. Changed it, and that's colorful. Not only does it update it for PowerPoint, but again, all other Office applications like Excel. There you go, that's colorful, and vice versa. What I do in Excel to change this from File to Options, and come over here, there you go, personalize your copy of Microsoft Office on the General tab. We change the Office theme to white, click Okie dokie, Excel's back to white, close out. Hey, we're back to white in PowerPoint as well. Now speaking of which, in that same section, let's go backstage again to File, down to Options. There you go, General, and personalize your copy. You've got your username and initials. Now you want to make sure you fill this in correctly with your name and initials, not the default, like if it's the name of the computer, like HP or Dell, whatever. Because when it comes to the author, well, when you create a presentation, it's going to pull it from here, and you want your name to be the author, right? And also when it comes to adding comments to identify you, also when sharing your presentation with others, because when you add comments to a slide and you want to be able to add your thoughts and say, okay, this is what I want in this slide, and you hand it off to somebody else, and somebody else is reviewing it along with a bunch of other people, well, who's to say who said what? And we want to be able to tie those comments to the person, and it will use your initials like KK. Hey, that's Kurt Kershaw. Well, that's the initial, but then you'll get the details here in those comments as well. So make sure you update those. And then while we're here, let's come down below in the startup options. Now, if you don't have this checked, show the start screen when the application starts. That means when you open up PowerPoint, it takes you right to what you see here. Gives you one title slide to work with, and you can delete that if you don't want a title slide to begin your presentation. But if you do show the start screen, you won't see this. It'll actually open up a start screen. Then on the left-hand side, it'll show you the recent files that you've been working in, like today, last week, or older. And then over to the right, in the main section, you'll have the option of creating a new presentation from a blank template or other templates. So let me show you. So right now I don't show the start screen when I open the application. So when I click cancel and close out and I open up PowerPoint, it doesn't go to that start screen. By default, it'll always open up beginning with a generic name and a title slide. So if I go backstage File, down to Options to where we were, again, the General tab, and come down below in the Startup Options and check that I do want to see the start screen. Click Okie dokie, close out. Then when I open it up, there you go. You get all the recent presentations, the ones like today that I can click on and they'll open it right up. Or I can come over here and just click on Blank Presentation or use one of these templates, and you can scroll down and see a bunch of other fun templates. So if I click on Blank, it's just like bypassing the startup screen because you get a title slide and that's all. In any case, let me go ahead and File to Options and come over here and uncheck it. Let's see next, other ways to customize. How about saving? Now when you save it, you can have the option to not show the backstage when opening or saving files. What that means is that for me, whenever I save my presentations for the first time, I'm going to save it to my computer. I'm not going to be saving it to the OneDrive or some server on the cloud, and so I don't want it to go backstage. For example, right now it doesn't go backstage. So if I click Okie dokie, and this is the first time I'm going to be saving this, because when you save it, it'll perform a save as. It'll force a save as, where it's going to ask you two questions. What name do you want to give it? Because, come on, presentation 1, that's generic. What is that about? And then 2, where do you want to save it? So when I come up here and click on Save, it doesn't go backstage and ask me where do you want to save it, like the cloud or to your computer. It automatically opens up the Save As window, and it says, okay, where do you want to save this on your computer? So if I close out and I come backstage and I'm like, hey, every time I save, I want it to go backstage. And then let's come up here and click Save. and say that well, uncheck this. By unchecking it, it'll show us the backstage. Click okie dokie when I come up here and click on save, and boom, takes me right to backstage. And right to the save as, because it's got to know what name we want to give it and where we want to put it. So there's the OneDrive if you want to save it to Microsoft's server there. Or if you want to click Browse, it opens up the Save As window so you can put it on your computer. I mean, whew, that's one too many clicks. I'd rather say that when it comes to saving on my computer, well, for me, I always save it on my computer, not the OneDrive. Then let's bypass that. Come down here and click on Options. Go to Save and say, look, check the box. Don't show the backstage. Just go right to the Save As option. Let me save it on my computer. Save me an extra click or two. And then speaking of save, when it comes to saving, you can have a default file location. So when I click Save and it saves it to my computer, right now it's always going to point to the desktop. Well, what if I want all my presentations to be saved in the exercises folder on the desktop? So if you know the address or the rules behind the address where it starts with the C drive, user, the name of the user that you're logged in as, and then the desktop of that user. And on the desktop, I have a folder called Exercises. So when I go ahead and click Okie dokie, and I click Save, it opens up in the Exercises folder that's on my desktop. When I click Cancel, I say, no, I want to save everything to my desktop. Click File, Options, Save, and then go ahead and delete that. And of course, if you have a folder within a folder, then you hit the backslash. And if I have a folder within the exercises folder that's called Spiffy Presentations, then of course type in Spiffy Presentations so it goes and it opens up inside of that folder. But I want to save it to the desktop, so I got to get rid of all of that. Click OK. So when I click Save, it's on the desktop. Oh, that's nice. Let me click Cancel. And let's go back to File, down to Options, and then go to Save. And then you got the option to auto recover information or save your presentation automatically every 10 minutes. And you can customize that, and you can go down to 1 minute. And so every minute when you're working in there, automatically will save it for you. So if you do a lot of work and something happens, your computer gets shut down and it's not automatically saved, oops. So you can go ahead and have that save automatically every minute. But keep in mind when you have it auto-saving for you, that the repeat option, which is found up here on the Quick Access Toolbar, the moment you save it or it automatically saves it, it wipes it clean, it clears it. So when you perform an action, and we'll talk about this in a later training video, but when you perform an action and you want to repeat that action and not have to go through it again and select that action, just say, okay, repeat, repeat, repeat. Just click on the repeat button. But that gets cleared out the moment you save it or the moment it automatically saves it every 10 minutes. So if that repeat option is very important to you, don't hit save, which is going to be hard because you may want to save it if you did a lot of work, or just make sure that this autosave is set out long enough that it gives you a chance to go ahead and do the repeat option as many times before it hits save and clears this out. So right now, it's ready to repeat something. You can see it's active as opposed to undo, which isn't active. It's shaded gray. So again, we'll talk about that in a later training video, but I want to give you a heads up if that's something important to you that will be cleared out anytime you save your presentation. And while we're backstage here, let's go down to Advanced. And speaking of undoing mistakes, as we talked about here, when you do something and you want to undo what you did, you can hit on the back arrow. And right now the maximum number of undos you can do is 20. If you feel like you want to do more, you can say, wow, let's go up to 30 or 40 or 50. I'm not sure how many undos you can have available for you for PowerPoint to keep track of those actions that you did to be able to undo all of them. But you can set as many as you need to. I'm going to leave it as is. 20 is sufficient for me. And let's scroll down here. Show this number of recent presentations. So when you go backstage and you click on File, over to the right-hand side, it'll list all the presentations that you recently been working on, and it'll show up to 50. So if you want to see 50 that you recently worked on, all the older ones down to number 50, it'll be available for you to click on, automatically open up that presentation. If that's way too many for you to see over on the right-hand side, then you can go ahead and narrow that down to 5. And you can see when you hover over it, change how many presentations are shown in the recent presentation list. And then finally, down below, slideshow. When you're done with the slideshow, do you want to end with a black slide to let you know that it's done, or to help the other person who's given the presentation that you created that it's done and it just doesn't abruptly end? So right now it's going to end with a black slide. So when I click Okie dokie, and here's my presentation, one slide, the title slide with nothing on it. Well, I can even type in here nothing. So click off. When I begin my slideshow, there we go, nothing. So when I'm done, when I click, there's the black screen that says up at the top, end of slideshow, click to exit. So that's available. But if I come up here and click on File, go down to Options, and we change that, Advanced, and scroll down, and we say don't end with the black slide, and I click Okie dokie, and I begin my presentation, and I click, it's done. There's no black screen to say, okay, I don't want you guys to see the design view here up on the projector. I want a notification before we're actually done with the presentation. Well, if you don't have all your slides memorized and know when the presentation ends, or when somebody else is giving your presentation and they want a heads up when it's time to wrap things up. And then up here is the Quick Access Toolbar. It's called that because you can quickly access any command on here in a single click. So the first command here is the save, and if you want to customize that and remove it or add other commands or see what other commands are available, you can do it one of many ways. You can first of all come over to the right hand side and click on the Customize Quick Access Toolbar drop down arrow. Click on it. Gives you a list of some of the popular commands, and those commands that are currently on it are checked. So if you want a new command, like how about creating a new presentation, click on it and it adds the command there. So when I click on that, hey, opens up a new presentation. That was fun. Close out of that. And you can click on it, and if you want more commands than what you see here, then come down below and say that you want more. And it goes backstage, opens up the PowerPoint options, goes right to the Quick Access Toolbar category. And you can see on the left-hand side a list of popular commands. You can take a gander there. Or if you want to see all the commands that are available, click on the drop-down arrow, and there's all the commands sorted numerically first. And then, of course, alphabetically, the C's down to the P's here. And then over to the right-hand side, a list of the commands that are currently on the Quick Access Toolbar. So if I want to add one of these over to, well, the Quick Access Toolbar, which is displayed over here in this window, go ahead and select it. And, well, you can double-click on it to add it over to the right. Double-click to remove it, or with it selected, you can click Add, or with it selected, click Remove. Let's go ahead and double-click to add it. And if you don't like the order of it here, like this is going to be on the far right-hand side, Print Preview, but you want the Preview and Print before the new file, then with it selected, click Up. And when I click Okie dokie, it comes right before the Create New Presentation or Create a New Document. Now you can do it that way, or you can right-click anywhere on the Quick Access Toolbar and go right down to Customize It. Opens up the same window, PowerPoint Options, Quick Access Toolbar, same thing. Or if you go backstage, File, to Options, and there you go. Again, it's the PowerPoint Options backstage window to Quick Access Toolbar here. And with it there, I don't know about you, but when it comes to these teeny tiny commands here to click on, sometimes I get in a rush and I click on that, or if my screen resolution is super high and it's really teeny tiny, I may click on that one when I meant to click on that one. In any case, if you want some gappage or spacing in between your commands here so you don't mistakenly click on one, you can use what's called a separator. Go ahead and double click and double click and double click, add about 3 of those. And the separator can be used one of a couple of ways. You can either go ahead and, like I said, give yourself some spacage between 2 commands so they're not too close, or you can categorize your commands, put them into groups where you can say, let me put a separator here that separates that group and a separator over here from that one, so you got in between those 2 separators this group here. And a separator is nothing more than a line. So let me go ahead and select this one and go up. Select that one and click up. So now I'll have 2 lines separating Save As from Print Preview, and let's add that one so it separates Print and, well, Preview and Print from New File. And click Okie dokie, and there's your spacage. There you go. So I don't get too close to one and accidentally hit the other. I mean, you got some space going on there, and that's nice. Now you can add commands to the Quick Access Toolbar that way, or you can do it right from the ribbon, one of a couple of ways. For example, you can just go ahead and let's do, well, we got the B for bold. How about if we right-click on that and add that to the Quick Access Toolbar, click, And there's bold, but of course nothing's bold because we don't have any text to select to make it bold, but it's there. You can do it that way, or if you want to add an entire group from the ribbon, like the font group, because maybe you're always working on the design tab, you don't want to leave that to go to the home tab to access the font commands. So instead, just go ahead and right-click in a blank area of the group and add that to the Quick Access Toolbar. So you can always stay on the Design tab, and whenever you need to access that font group, just come up here and click on the icon that represents that font formatting group. It'll pick one to represent it, so it's not always going to be like, well, on the Home tab, when you look at it, it's got that underline. Pick that command to represent that group. Doesn't mean it's going to format the font, but when you click on it, you see you got the same group here as you see here. Fabulous. And then finally, how do you remove it? Well, I already went over that. Well, if you right-click on the Quick Access Toolbar to customize it, you can remove it over here, but why go through all that when you can just come up here and right-click on, well, the separators and remove, and right-click, remove, and right-click, remove. I mean, hey, we're just almost done, aren't we? There we go, back to where we started. Oh, except for that little guy right there, that little separator. Oh, and before I forget, we haven't covered this yet, but new to Office 2016 is the tell me what you want, what you really, really want to do. And it's a new help feature. So what you can do is you can click in here and type in something that you want to figure out or do more research on, or let's type in print if you want to print something. There you go. There's the commands print, preview, and print that you can actually click on any one of those to execute it, or you can right click on it and hey, you can also add that to the Quick Access Toolbar. Okay, wanted to cover that. We'll go over the rest of the tell me what you want to do in a later training video. Right click to remove. To customize the ribbon here, you can do it one of many ways. First of all, the simplistic way to do this as far as customization goes is that if you want more screen space, you can hide the ribbon. You can do that one of many ways. First of all, you can come up here, up at the top in the title area, and click on the ribbon display options. Click on that, and the default is to show the tabs and commands. Now if you go ahead and click on Show Tabs, the commands hide or are hidden until you come up here and click on Home, and it temporarily displays the commands below that when you click on it or click off, it collapses again, so you're back to your greater viewing area. You can do that or come up here and click on it again and say that you want to auto hide the ribbon, in which case, where did it go? Well, it's up at the top here. You see that it's ellipsis button or build button in some programs, so I'll call it the build button, that anywhere up here, you don't have to be right on the three little dots, but anywhere up at the top, when you see it go that light orange, when you click, it opens up, and then you can select a command, and when you click off of it or select a command, it totally hides everything. So if you want to go back to the way it was, then you can go back to Show Tabs and Commands. Now you can do it that way, or you can simply double click on a tab, and it does the partial hide, just the commands. And so if you click on it, temporarily shows it, and then click off, or click on a command and it hides it. Then to bring it back, double click really fast and it's permanent. You can do it that way, or Control F1 does that. Control F1 again brings it back, or coming all the way over to the far right here, you've got that collapse the ribbon. And you can see in the pop-up, the shortcut keys that I just went over is the Control plus F1. So there you go. Need a bit more space, collapse the ribbon so only the tab names show. Click on that and there you go. So we'll do Control F1 to bring it back up. Now you can do that, but if you want to get a little bit more persnickety or detailed when it comes to your ribbon, like maybe you want to be able to create your own tab. How about that? And put some commands on that, your own groups. Or maybe you want a current tab to be, well, less crowded here. Maybe I don't use the drawing group. I don't want to see that. Or maybe I don't want to see the home tab at all. So what I could do is I can right click anywhere on the ribbon and go down to Customize the Ribbon. And there you go. So there's the Quick Access Toolbar, and there's Customize the Ribbon. So over on the right hand side, you can see all those that have been checked are those that are currently displayed on the ribbon or will be displayed when you work on something specific that will call that tab forth, that contextual tab, like when you're working on the objects, pictures, shapes, smart art. So we've got here, let's take a look, let's scroll down. We've got our home tab, and then we've got the insert, the design, and these other tabs. Well, the handout master, that's contextual. When you actually are working in the handout master, it'll pull forward. In any case, if you want to go ahead and for the home tab, it's expanded. You can see the groups there. You can expand those. And if you don't want the clipboard group, you can select that and say remove, and it's gone. You don't want the slides group, you can remove it, that's gone. If you want to add commands to a group that's already there by default, well, you can't do it. So if I come over here and select eyedropper, and I say I want to add it to it, it says, you got to create your own custom group. You can't mess around with the default groups. Okay. So if I go ahead and just for fun, I remove pretty much all the groups here on the Home tab. I know it's spooky, but I'll show you how to fix it if you get yourself in a bind. And we just have the editing group. On that Home tab, you can see it's checked, so that's going to be displayed. If I uncheck it, it'll hide it. But on that, let's come down here and say we want a new group. And with that group, you get a generic name, new group. I mean, what does that mean to me? Let's come down here and rename it. And you get the window that says choose an icon that represents that group. So if you add that group to the Quick Access Toolbar, as I showed you in the previous training video, you can select the icon that's going to represent that group. So you can click on that icon like, oh, the happy face, because we're always happy. And down below, the display name, let's call it something spiffy because, hey, everything we do here at Dreamforce is spiffy. So if we go ahead and click Okie dokie, that's the name of my new group on the Home tab along with the editing group, the only remaining default group, original group on the Home tab. And then I can go ahead and add commands to that custom group. So I can just come over here and say I want the eyedropper, yes, and do the font and email and whatever you want to add there. Okay, so we have that on the Home tab. We pretty much obliterated it except for the two. And then let's go ahead and uncheck all these so we don't have to see those and even the slideshow. And let's go ahead and create our own tab on the ribbon. Click New. And there it is, a new tab with a new group. And what name do we want to give the new tab? Rename it and call it our fancy tab. And then go ahead and click Okie dokie. And then we got to have a group to be able to add commands to that tab. So it gives us a default one here that we can go ahead and, well, rename it and call it our formatting group. And then something to represent that. Oh, maybe a butterfly because that's so colorful. Formatting group, and then go ahead and come over here either under popular commands or click on the drop down arrow if you want to see all the commands that are available. Same thing in the Quick Access Toolbar training video. Sorts it numerically and then alphabetically and whatever formatting commands that you find. And I'm not going to sit here and go through it all, but you get the gist of it. Find those commands that you want to put over here on that custom group and then just click add and well, we're almost done here. Cool. So when I click Okie dokie, we're just going to have the Home tab with only two groups. We took out the rest. We've hidden, well, the Insert Design Transitions. So Insert Design Transitions, I think animations, that will be gone. And then we'll have our fancy tab. So let's go ahead and click Okie dokie. And wow, look at that. Our Home tab has two groups, the editing and something spiffy. Oh, that's nice. You can format the background, so that command works. Opens up the Format Background task pane, which we'll cover later on. And when I right-click in a blank area of that group and add that to the Quick Access Toolbar, we have our happy face that represents that. So when I go to my Fancy tab, and I only have the one formatting group, and I can't use any of that because I got nothing that would activate these commands to be able to work on it. But let's right-click and add that to the Quick Access Toolbar, and it's the butterfly. So without leaving this tab, if I want to go back to the group that's on the Home tab, just click on the happy face and there's the spiffy group. Great. Now what if you're like, oh fudge, I really went too far? Well, you can always right-click on the ribbon to customize it. And down below you get two options when it comes to resetting. Click on it. You can reset only the selected ribbon tab. So well, I can't reset that because that's a custom. So if I select the Home tab, which I butchered, remember I removed a lot and added my own. If I click Reset and reset only that, then everything on the Home tab is going to go back to the way it was. And then click Okie dokie, go to the Home tab, it's back to the way it was. All the groups and not my spiffy group. But what about the Fancy tab and these other ones that I've hidden? Well, right-click and go back to Customize Ribbon. And you can check all these to display them again. That works. Or you can go ahead and click Reset and reset all customization. That also includes anything you customize on the Quick Access Toolbar. So if I do that and I say, are you sure? It says delete all ribbon and Quick Access Toolbar. It includes that up there. Customizations for this program and say yes. And click Okie dokie. There we go. We got the insert design, transition. We have no fancy custom tab. We're back to where we started. Except I do like that Save As up here on the Quick Access Toolbar, which isn't here. So if I right click and customize the Quick Access Toolbar, scroll down, double click, Save As. That's one of my favorite commands. I want to go over the difference between saving and saving as. So when you create a presentation for the first time and you want to save it, it's going to force a save as, because in the save as window it's going to ask you two questions. What name do you want to give the presentation, and where do you want to save it? Because up at the top in this presentation I got a generic name, Presentation 1. Well, what's that? So if this presentation's about how to make chocolate chip cookies, then I probably want to save it as such. So when I come over here and I click on Save, and this is the first time I'm saving it, when I click on it, it's going to open up the Save As window. You see the command there, Save As? Click on it, there you go, Save As. So when I come over here, click on Save, it says, oh, this is the first time, so two questions. Where do you want to save it? Well, let's do the desktop, that's good. And then what name do you want to give it? Well, not Presentation 1, that's not right. It's going to be about cookies. And then go ahead and hit Enter on the keyboard or click on the Save button, and there you go. There's the new title for the presentation, or the name of the file, cookies. So when I close out of it, it's on the desktop right there. Double click to open it up. And so there's the first Save As. Now, after that, when I start putting my presentation together, or I have additional changes to be made in the presentation, and I come up here and click on the Save, it's not going to force a Save As again, because it knows the file name and where to save it. But if I want to make a copy of it, so maybe this is my first draft and I want to create a second draft or send it as a copy to somebody else because I don't want them to mess with the original here, then you can do a Save As. So if I come up here and click on, there you go, Save As, again it's going to ask you two questions. Where do you want to save it? What name do you want to give it? Now if I save it in the same place as the previous one on the desktop, that's fine. But if I have it as the same name and click Save, it's going to replace it. I don't want to do that. This could be my second copy, or cookies 2. And then click Save. And there's the Save As. You can see up there, cookies 2. So when I close out on the desktop, there's cookies. And here's cookies 2. And of course, when I double click and open up either one, after it's been through the Save As, the name and where it's going to be saved, and you make any changes, cookie, maybe we make one big giant cookie, and I click Save. No Save As. It keeps the file name and saves it right where it's supposed to save, and that's on my desktop in the Cookies 2 file presentation. And then if I'm done with this presentation down below, and I want to close out of it, but not out of the PowerPoint program, well, if you click on the exit, it closes out of everything, but if I do Control W, closes out of just that presentation, leaves the PowerPoint program open so I can come up here and do other things if I'd like. Open up other presentations, browse, cookies. Now if you want to send this off to somebody who has an earlier version of PowerPoint, and I'm talking 1997 through 2003, yeah, that's pretty early, you want to make sure that certain graphic effects and objects can be viewed in those earlier versions. Otherwise, if they can't, they may be missing out on a lot. So what you can do is you can use the Compatibility Checker to check for those issues and then fix them before you save it in an earlier version, because if you just send it off to them as is and you don't convert it to that earlier version, they may have even more issues. So my recommendation is to check for compatibility issues before you save it to an earlier version, and then once you fix it up and save it as an earlier version, send it off, they should be good. So to check for those issues, you can do it one of two ways. You can either come up here and click on the File tab and go backstage to Info to check for issues. Check for features not supported by earlier versions of PowerPoint. Compatibility Checker, please. Click on it. Following features in this presentation are not supported by earlier versions of PowerPoint. These features may be lost or degraded when you save this presentation in that earlier file format. And here's the issues that it finds, like on slides 1, 3, 5, and 6. The shape and any text in it cannot be edited when using earlier versions. So they can view it, it'll convert it into an image, but they won't be able to click inside of it like the title here, as I'll show you in just a minute. And let's go over another one. The shape can't be edited, but the text in the shape can be revised using earlier versions. And it's on slides 1 and 8, so let's close out of here. So right here, and you may not know the difference between what was available in later versions as opposed to earlier versions, but here with WordArt, it didn't have the reflection or the fancy colors as it does in the later versions with the earlier versions. So I can click and drag and select it and come up here and click on the Format tab, go to the WordArt Styles group, click on More, and clear it so we get rid of all the formatting so it's just plain text. So now let's go ahead and check it and see if it cleared it up. And again, you can do that by going backstage, File to check for issues, or you can hit two birds with one stone. You can have it check for issues and then at the same time save it in that earlier version of PowerPoint, like 1997 through 2003. And you can do that by coming up here. Now I added the command the Save As to the Quick Access Toolbar, so when I click on it, I can come down here and save it from the latest version with the extension .pptx as opposed to, click on it, an earlier version of 1997 through 2003 with just .ppt as that extension. And if you don't know anything about extensions, you can watch my Windows training video on extensions, but it's missing that extra X, and the X stands for Extensible Markup Language, which is a more stable programming language. So the file sizes are smaller and not as corruptible. In any case, let's go back to 1997 through 2003. And when you click Save, before it actually saves it, it's going to check it with the Compatibility Checker. And it says these features may be lost or degraded when you save this presentation in an earlier file format unless you come down below and clean it up from any fancy features that are available in the latest versions as opposed to the earlier. And you can see that slide 1 is no longer an issue. That's good because we cleared off that fancy formatting. Now it doesn't mean you can't use colors, it's just that there are some colors that are available in the later versions that weren't available in the earlier versions, and also that reflection there. So you can pick them off one by one until you clean them up and either dumb it down to where you've got basically nothing here. If you're not sure, you can always go just a simple text and no color, or something close, something just primary colors to be safe. And it will keep telling you every time you come in here if, when you check it, when you want to do a Save As. So if you still want to work on it, then you can click on Close and make your changes, or finally do Save As and come back here to the 1997 through 2003, click Save, and it pulls up those issues. And if you're like, you know what, I'm good, let's continue, it saves it. Because up here on the title bar, it says it's in compatibility mode, opening up in a later version of PowerPoint from an earlier version which doesn't have the X, just the PPT. And of course you can click on that to close out of there. Now we've got the two versions here. There's the latest version with the X. You can see in the pop-up Microsoft PowerPoint, and here's an earlier version right here without the X. And you can see when I hover over it in the pop-up, it's got PowerPoint 1997 through 2003, those years those are compatible with each other, but not with the latest here. Well, some of the features and fancy formatting. New to Office 2016 is the Tell Me What You Want to Do feature. It's in place of the Help feature, that question mark, as you saw in earlier versions up here on the title bar, that when you clicked on it, opened up the Help window. Well, here, all you have to do is click next to the light bulb to have a light bulb moment and type in whatever you want to look for or do some research on, like print. And you get a list of commands down below in the first section. So if you click on a command like Print Preview, it takes you right to the print preview. You can also print. Let's go back to the front stage. And let's type it in again, print. And if you don't want to click on a command, you can get some help, hover over it, give you some suggestions here, or if you want all help and support, click on that. You can also do a smart lookup on print. And there you go, you can explore or define it. That's the smart lookup. So you can explore it, not just as it's defined here, which you can click on define, and there it is, defined. But when it comes to explore, it explores everything, not just the definition of it, but also the Wikipedia. That's always fun to say, wiki, wiki, wiki. And you can do a Bing search, different icons, images. You can click on more, and oh, you get quite a bit more, and keep going. And I'm good. In any case, let's go ahead and click back, scroll down, and you can do a web search, print magazine, how to print a document, and do more there. And you can just keep going and going. In any case, hopefully that gives you some idea of how you can get help here if not directly from me in these training videos. Now, when it comes to creating presentations, you can start from scratch, like as you see here, you get the title slide and then add additional slides, or you can use one of the many free sample templates that Microsoft has if you don't want to start from scratch, something that's pre-built for you, and then you just have to change the text or add some of your own images to it. In any case, you can find those up here from the File tab, going backstage, down to New. And there you go. You got some templates there. If that's not enough, you can come up here and click on one of the categories, like let's do business. Give it a second. Shows all the templates in the business category, and then over to the right, you also have the business category, but a whole lot more categories. You can go ahead and scroll through here and find one that you like. Like let's do certificates. Click on that. Updates it. Oh, that's fun. Or you can come up here and just do your own online search by typing in a keyword, hitting enter on the keyboard. And oh, that looks kind of fun here. Oh, how about this one right here, a calendar? Go ahead and select it, opens up a preview of it, and if you don't like that, instead of closing out, the template before that was a scarecrow. You can click on back. There's a scarecrow. There's a synopsis of it. Announce your fall event with the seasonal flyer template. Oh, that's fun. Let's go ahead and move back and say we want to go with the calendar anyways, but does it have all the months? What you can do is you can check out the presentation before you create it by clicking on the right button. Oh, there's February, March, April. Yeah, I think it's going to have all the months. So when we're ready, go ahead and click Create. And there we go. You got January. The next one over here in the thumbnail preview is February and March. Oh, that's great. And you can see over here where it says Click to Add Text. Remember, it's a template. You don't have to go with whatever it has here. You can make some subtle changes to it. If it's major, you may want to start from scratch. In any case, this won't show up in the presentation where it says click to add text. It's just a reminder for you to, type in whatever you want in that text box. Well, let me show you. When you begin your presentation for March and you click on Slideshow, this is what the audience is going to see. It's not going to say click to add text. That's for you in the design view. So let me go ahead and hit the escape key to get out of the presentation view. And if you like this, up here on the title bar, it's got a generic name. That means that it hasn't been saved to your computer, Presentation 2. So come up here, click on Save. It does a Save As, where it's going to ask us 2 questions. Where do you want to save it? On the desktop. Cool. And what name do you want to give it? You want to say it's my 2017 calendar presentation. Click Save and updates it, so now it's saved. And then again, I can go ahead and make whatever changes I'd like to it. Now, when you want to create a presentation from scratch and using the blank template, by default it has the first slide for you. You can see over here in the thumbnail preview, slide 1. Then over in the working area where you can work on that selected slide, it's known as the title slide. Why? Because, hey, there you go, click here to add a title. That's a box that you can add text to, known as a text box. So when I click in there, the cursor's flashing. You can see the outline of that title text box, and the presentation is going to be about my website. So I could do www.dreamforce.us, and then a little bit more information about the website. Why would I want to go to the website? Well, let's give them a little bit more down below by clicking here to add a subtitle or something to the effect of like, hey, if you come to my website, there's information on how to get discounts, get downloads, newsletters, other things like for $2 a month, you can have access to all my training videos that I've ever produced and will be producing. I mean, that's quite a deal. In any case, we'll talk about that later, but for right now, when you're done, just click outside of the text box. So when you give your presentation and this is the first slide that they see, they're like, oh, okay, this is what we're going to be talking about, a website. And the purposes of the presentation about the website is how to get discounts, downloads, and newsletters. Now, if you want to add additional text, but you don't want to add it as a subtitle or as the title, maybe down below a byline saying, hey, this presentation is by me or the author or it was created by. So to add an additional text box, let's click off. You can come up here, click on the Insert tab, and go over to the text group and click on Text Box. And then move your mouse, and you can see how it goes from a pointer up here down onto the slide as a sword. It looks like a sword to me. And what that is that it's in drawing mode, meaning that when you click and drag,
you get an outline of a box, and then when you let go, it is a box. It's a text box, and you got the cursor flashing in it, so you can just go ahead and start typing. By Kurt Kershaw. Oh, isn't that nice? And then you can click off and go, oh, I didn't mean to put that there. So that brings up a good point. If you made a mistake, you can always go over the text until you can see the I-beam. Then when you click on it, it puts the cursor right there inside the text box, and then you can, delete and add text or characters. And then when you want to move the text box, because I want it from up at the top down below the subtitle, just hover over the border of it until you can see arrows pointing in 4 different directions. That when you see it and you click and you hold down the left mouse button, you're in movable mode. And when you start moving, you see those dashed lines there, horizontally, then over, well, there you go, vertically. That means that that box is lining up with something else that's on the slide. But what specifically? It's lining up with the title there. Well, not exactly with the title www. But with the size of the box, the text box that the title is in. You want to see? You see over the left-hand side, the text box here, that line? If I come up here and I click on the title, you see that line? Looks like it's just aligned exactly when I click on my byline here, the author of this presentation, that box there. And so that's what it's doing. It's helping you doing some alignments when you click and drag to say, oh, you're aligned here. Oh, you're aligned over here, left-hand side of that text box. And so if the text box is not snug and tight around the text, then you can get some false, alignments here going, what the heck is that alignment? Where does that put me? So let's put it down here. And that looks pretty good. Horizontal alignment. Maybe, am I centered here? Oh, over to the left-hand side. It's not giving me the center where I want, but if I let go, you see the size of the box? That's not going to help. And especially if I click on the subtitle, then how do I get to that? Well, I can click on it, but you see how the text boxes might get in the way of each other trying to select one? And we'll talk about layering in a later training video, how one text box or object can be layered over the next, and you may have a challenge trying to select the one because the other one's on top. In any case, it's probably best right now just to learn how to resize it until we get to a more advanced video on that. And you can resize this text box by hovering over the circles, known as the resizing handles. That when you hover over it, you'll see arrows pointing in opposite directions. When you see that, just click and drag in. Whoops, if I go too far in and down, then I want to go up and out. So just come in and down a little bit, maybe up a little bit, and let go. Oh, that's good. Click off. See, then that guy, subtitle here, he's pretty huge. Let's go ahead and hover over the bottom middle resizing handle till I can see arrows, and then click and drag that up. See how it's lined at the top of that other text box? That's how I get that orange dash line. Go up a little further, and then that one is lined up here to the left-hand side. So they're both centered right with each other. Are these centered on the slide? Well, if I look at the top middle resizing handle and up here on the horizontal ruler, let me click off. It looks like it's aligned almost with 0 there. When I click back on, then it goes back to, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's giving me the size of the entire text box, but when I click off, it's back to 0. So it looks like it's centered in the middle of the slide here. In any case, let's hover over the top middle resizing handle and click and drag and go down. And then you got the rotation handle. You're probably wondering what that's about. So when you hover over it, you get an arrow pointing in on itself that when you click on it, then you get 4 arrows pointing in on themselves. That allows you, holding down the left mouse button, to tilt. Whoa, getting kind of seasick. And then you can do it that way, or if you hold down the Shift key and you go left, it does it in about 15 degrees increments. And let's go back and let go of the mouse and let go of the Shift key. So you may want to consider when it comes to resizing the length of it, if you want to be able to align it centered here. And we'll talk about how you can get more particular about aligning and using grids and guides. But for right now, let's keep it simplistic. We resize the text box. We moved a text box. Well, we added text to a new text box down below. And so the final thing that I want to show you, let me click off, is another way that you can add text to your slide. There's other ways you can do it, but as far as adding text from a document, like let me come up here and minimize this down to the taskbar so I can see my desktop. There's the current presentation that we're in, and here's some text right here in the Word document that when I double click to open it up, you can see it's about 2 pages. So I can come in here and I can go ahead and click and drag and select it and copy it. Control C to copy, and we'll learn how to copy and paste, or you can come up here on the Home tab to the Clipboard group and click on the Copy button, and then close out. Then come back down below on the taskbar and click on the button to restore the program, or PowerPoint, and you can come in here, up here on the Home tab in the Clipboard group and click Paste. And when you paste it, it automatically adds a text box. See, I had to hover over the border of the box that when I pasted it automatically added it and put the text within it. Granted, the text is squished and it's got no spacing in between the lines. So if I hover over the bottom right-hand corner resizing handle and click and drag that out, it's just not looking good. Let me hit enter a couple of times and well, there's some space. In any case, there's the text. Copy and paste. The other way that you can do it, and then we'll call it good here to get us started, let me go ahead and click on the border of the box, hit the delete key, and that's how you can get rid of your text boxes. And speaking of which, if you do it for a slide that has it set up template-wise, like your title and subtitle, that if you hover over the border of the title in this special layout here, this template, and you delete it, that text box that prompts you to add a title is still there until you click on that, the border of that, and delete that, and then you just lost your layout. It's no longer the title slide layout. I mean, you can add a text box, right, and type in text, but as far as layout goes, it's been worked over. You deleted it. So I'm going to come up here on the Quick Access Toolbar and hit the undo arrow so it undoes what I did, and hit it again because it remembers 2 actions back. Well, it remembers a lot. You can click on the drop down arrow and it remembers a lot of actions, but in any case, I digress. Once I go back to the way I like it, and I want to go back to that Word document and copy and paste all the text, you don't have to leave PowerPoint in order to get the text within that document into your slide or into your presentation on a slide. What you can do, let me click off, is come up here and click on the Insert tab, and then come over here to the text group, and you can insert it as an object, an embedded object. So it's going to embed the text in basically a text box on the slide that I inserted in. So let's click on, it's not going to look pretty because you're taking a text box of all that text and putting it on top of the title, but nonetheless I want to show you that if you have another blank slide, how you can do it as one way of adding text to your slides from another, well, a Word document. Come up here, click on Object, and you want to create something new, or you want to create it from a file. Well, it's from a file, it's on our desktop, so I'll select that option, and then I'll browse for it, click Browse, and it's on my desktop, so over in the navigation pane, let's go to the desktop, and then over in the main working area, it's the poem, There's No Other Way. Double click, there's the address, so it knows where to go to pull that in, and then when I'm ready, I click Okie dokie, and there it is. So I can hover over the border of that box and click and drag it over here so you can see it's barely legible. It's so tiny. But we can zoom in on it, right? Use the zoom feature, click and drag to zoom in. Oh, there we go. And then how do I edit it? Well, to do that, double click really fast and it puts it in edit mode. But not like what we've seen before, because you get this fuzzy border. So it's as an object and not just a regular text box. And you can see it's actually got its rulers in there in that object or that document separate from the ruler in the PowerPoint presentation. But you can still come in here, make some changes, type in a lot of text, mess it up, delete, 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 click and drag to select, delete. I mean, you could just go to town. And then when you're done, click on the outside of it. It jumps around as it repositions it back into place, and there you go. And it will show up in the presentation. But like I said, that's a lot of text to be putting on one slide, especially when it's kind of small. Well, it is at 84% zoom. When you give your presentation, it'll be at 100% here. Oh, okay, that's too much. And now we can start reading it here at 142% in any case. Let's get rid of that. Let's go ahead and make sure we click on the border and then hit the delete key on the keyboard and it's gone. And then we can come back down below on the status bar and say we want to fit the slide to the current window. Because at 142% I can't see the entire slide. So let's click on it. Fits it right back to where we were. Here I want to show you how you can edit, copy, and move text. First of all, you can see I've got a new presentation, and over here in the thumbnail preview, I've got a total of 4 slides. Now the first slide is highlighted, that means that's the active slide, and it displays over here in the main view or the working area, so I can work on that slide. And if I want to work on other slides, just go ahead and come over here in the thumbnail preview, And before you click on it, when I hover over it, it gives me a pop-up below my pointer, and that pop-up says on our website. That's the title of the slide, because I can't read the title, it's too tiny in this thumbnail preview. So that's good to know before I click on it to go, oh, that's not what I want. What's the next one about? Oh, that's unique. Well, go ahead and click on it, and there it is, the title, unique. Great. Then I went to the right slide. Or you can go ahead and increase the viewing of these thumbnails by hovering over the split bar in between the thumbnail preview and the main working area until you can see arrows pointing in opposite directions. Then just click and drag to the right until you get the size that you'd like to see them. Click and drag that split bar back, and I'll just stay there. Let's go back to slide 1. Here I want to show you how you can edit text within the text boxes. And so you can see when I'm in a blank area, I get the pointer. When I get close to a box that contains text and I get to the edge of it, that pointer also adds a 4-way arrow to it. So without having to click inside of it, I can just hover over it and just click when I got the 4-way arrow, and I can drag and move that wherever I want in any 4 directions, as it indicates with the 4-way arrow. And as you recall in the previous training video, when you get close to another object, in this case another text box, and you see those orange dashed lines, it means that it's in alignment with it. And in this example, the vertical orange dashed line is in perfect alignment, that text box, with the Dreamforce text box down below. So let go, and great. Let me click off. So you got the pointer. When you get to the edge of a text box, you got the 4-way arrow. When you get right over the text, you get an I-beam, or an uppercase I, that when you click, activates the box and it puts a cursor within the box so you can just start typing text. If you made a mistake and you want to delete what's behind the flashing cursor, hit the backspace key, and to delete what's in front of it, hit the delete key and type in that. And you can also use the arrow keys to navigate around within the text box. Left arrow key, delete key. To delete the lowercase o, let's put in uppercase, and there you go. Let's click off and we're done with that. Next, I want to show you how you can copy and paste text within your slides here. To do that, let's go to slide 2, and let's copy the bullet point sample previews of training videos. And to copy that, to paste it maybe within the same slide or on another slide for that matter, we need to select it first. So let's go ahead and click on it to activate the text box to get the cursor flashing within it. And to select it, one way is to start at one end or the other with your I-beam and click and drag to the other end. So you got it selected. You can do it that way, or let me click off. If it's just a word that you want to select, double click really fast. If you want to select the entire paragraph, which is this bullet point, just triple click really fast. And those are some tips, tricks, and shortcuts. I got a whole lot more in my word training video on navigating and selecting your text, but there's some to get you started. So once you have it selected, you can either come up here on the Home tab and go to the Clipboard group and click on the Copy button. You can see when I hover over it, the pop-up says it's Copy, and it gives you the shortcut keys in case if you don't want to click on it, but I'll click on it. And you can also do Control-C, and that copies it. And then once you've done that, it's copied. All you have to do now is go ahead and paste it, but there's another way. You can come down here with it selected, and if you hold your mouse really still and right-click, you get the shortcut menu to copy. But if you don't hold it still and you right-click and move it at the same time, well, congratulations, you just learned a new feature here, that when you right-click and you drag and then let go, wherever you let it go, it gives you another shortcut menu that says, you see that line right there, the cursor? It says you can move what you have selected here by selecting Move Here, there. Or you can take a copy of that and copy it to there. And well, if we copy here, what a mess. Let's go ahead and thank goodness for the undo button. Hit undo. We're back to where we were. And so, like I said, let's go ahead and to copy it, select it first, and then right-click, hold the mouse still, then left-click, and you can paste it. You can paste it within the same area here. Well, let's not do it right after. We can hit Enter. And then to paste it, well, I'm not going to paste it here. Let me hit the backspace key a couple of times. Let's go to another slide. Let's go to slide 4 and paste it here. Let me go ahead and click to activate that text box at the end of our website here. Let me place the cursor there. Hit Enter, and notice that it automatically converts it, well, that URL to a hyperlink. That when you hover over it, you can see in the pop-up it says, hey, you want to go to this website? Hold down the Control key and you get the finger. Yeah, you can go ahead and now with the Control key held down, click on it to go to my website. But you don't have to do that when you're giving the presentation, just in the design view. When you give the presentation, just click on it and it'll take you right there. So that's what's known as the autocorrect feature, that when you type in some text and you hit the space bar, automatically turns on that autocorrect feature and takes a look at what you just typed in front of the space. And if there's any misspellings that it can figure out, it'll automatically correct it, or in this case, any website addresses, convert it into a hyperlink. And so you can learn more about the autocorrect feature in my Word training video on that. And so let's go ahead with the cursor flashing here. Let's paste what we just copied. And there's quite a few ways you can go about pasting. You can either come up here on the Home tab, go to the clipboard group and click on Paste. Or as you can see in the pop-up, Control-V as in Victor will do it. So let's click on it. There you go. Now after you pasted it, you'll get some paste options, a little tag. You can click on it, and here you go. The default paste says to use the destination theme. Now, theme is a combination of colors, fonts, and effects. So if you had some color here to previous text, well, not this one because that converted it into a hyperlink, but you had another color to the text up above, it would paste it in that destination's color. So that's the default. If you didn't like that and you want to keep the source formatting, the place where it came from, and notice it gives you a preview, come back here, it's large, the source was smaller. So if you want to keep that formatting while pasting it, then choose that option. If you want it as a picture, well, you won't be able to make changes to it because pictures are that. They're not text, and you can't edit a picture into text. Or you can go ahead and just keep the text only. So if I choose picture, see that? I don't get the I-beam. I can't click on it to put it in there to edit it because it's a picture. I just get a 4-way arrow. So let's go ahead and hit undo. Come down below here and let's paste it again. It's still there. I haven't copied anything else, so I can still go ahead and use the paste feature. So I can come up here and click on the paste button, or click on the drop down arrow. You get the same 4 options. Or when in doubt, you can right click, and I tell my students that because when you need something in a hurry and it's a common command, when you right click, you'll pretty much, more often than not, at least I've found in my experience, that you'll find that command in that shortcut menu or this mini formatting toolbar. So right down here, you get the paste options as well. And you can choose from the same 4 options. We'll do destination theme, click on it, and that tag will be there and will stay there until you either close out or perform another action like hitting the space bar, and then it removes it. So that way, if you need to change your mind after you pasted it, you got that tag there. Just don't do anything else. And then when you do, it removes it. So we learned how to copy and paste. How about cut and paste? Like if I wanted to take the URL here and cut that, click and drag to select it. And you can come up here on the Home tab, go to the clipboard group, and there's the pair of scissors. You can see when I hover over it, the pop-up says cut, and the shortcut keys are Control X. So we can do that, or hold the mouse still and right-click, and you get the pair of scissors there. Cut. And now you just got to pick a place to paste it. Right-click. You're going to get the same 4 options here for pasting. That doesn't change with cutting. So we can use the destination theme, and there you go. You can do it that way, or if it's within the same slide, you can click and drag to select it, and instead of cutting and pasting, with the selected, click on the selection, and then move your mouse around. And I've got 2 things going on. You see that little line right here? Wherever that line's at, when I let go, that's where it's going to dump what I have selected into. And that little fuzzy box below the pointer, that represents the content that I'm pulling with me to wherever this line's at that I can let go and dump it into. And oh, that's horrifying. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. Thank goodness for the undo button. So click undo and put it back there. But instead, click and drag, select it, click on the selection and drag it, and we'll put it right before that bullet point and click down on that one. Hit the backspace key a couple of times to get rid of that bulleted point. Looks good. Now, what if you have text in a Microsoft Word document that you want to bring over here? Well, we covered that in the previous training video, that you can insert text from a Word document as an object in here. But you don't have to do it in this one. I'll show you another way that you can go about doing this. Let me come up here and minimize this down to the taskbar, because on my desktop I do have that Word document that when I double click to open it, there's the 3 bullet points that I'd like to add. So to add it, let's go ahead and click and drag and select it. Now I can cut it, I can copy it, or let's make it a bit tricksy, but do you think I can click and drag it? Oh man. Let me go down to the button, hold the button down, come back up here, let go. Oh, that's fancy. It worked, except I've got the bullets and not the squares there, so I don't get the paste options. So maybe that's not the best thing to do. If I go ahead and undo it and go back to my Word document, and let's just come up here and click on the copy button, and then go back and click on the button to restore the window here in PowerPoint and paste it. Let's do Control V as in Victor to paste it, and then I get my paste options. Oh, that's nice. So it gives me the squares if I go to the destination theme, or if I keep the source formatting, then it converts it to circles.
I want to show you how you can format your text and also the box that contains the text. First of all, the text itself. Let's do that by clicking on the text so we can activate the text box and we can see the cursor flashing within it, and then go ahead and click and drag to select the text that you would like to apply formatting to. When you do that, the mini formatting toolbar appears, and if you move down and away, it starts to disappear. But if you go right back up, it reappears. If you completely move off, well, you can't bring it back unless you reselect it or right-click on the selection and hey, there it is, it's right there, in addition to the shortcut menu. So you can go ahead and click on B for bold to deselect the bold or add it back in. Italics, underline, change the font type. Ooh, how about A.R. Berkeley? You can see when I hover over it, it gives me a preview down here. Well, not unless you're looking at it when I'm hovering. Now I'm hovering. Go ahead and take a quick look. There you go. And you can change the font size. You can either select it or you can actually click in here and type it in. Like if you want something 41, hit enter. Ooh, it's a little bit bigger. Let's go back to 40 and hit enter. And you can also change the font color. Click on the drop down arrow and you've got these theme colors. And you can see when I hover over that one, it gives me a preview of it and it gives me the name of it. It's Pink Accent 2 Lighter 60%. Ooh, that's a fun name. And then you got your standard colors. You can have more colors. So you've got your two sections here where you can click and pinpoint a color and then choose what kind of shading you'd like something less shaded or a darker shade. And you can see down below what's currently the color as opposed to the new color that you're about to click OK on, unless I click cancel. And then down below you got your color model, which has your RGB, red, green, and blue, and you can type it in if you'd like and say, well, I'd like it at 40. And you can see it moves these things around accordingly. Your shading as well as your colors here, or you can click on standard and do a honeycomb color, like, you can choose a blue and oh, that's nice, but I'm going to click cancel. You can choose anything you'd like there, or you can also come up here on the Home tab to the font group and you can change your colors there. Now, in addition to that, you do get the eyedropper, and that was also available when you right-clicked and you went to the mini formatting toolbar, clicked on the drop-down arrow. It's there as well. And what that does is when you click on it, you get the eyedropper, and wherever you hover that over, that little box will show you the color that you're about to suck up, and when you suck it up, it's going to apply that color to, well, the selected text. So if I do it on black, my text has just about disappeared here. In any case, let me come up here on the Quick Access Toolbar, and thank goodness for the undo. Click undo what I just did. And then the other way that you can do this is by coming up here, and you get the Related Contextual Format tab. It's only available when you're working in the text box because when you click outside of it, it's not there. So when you go ahead and click inside of it, come up here, it's there, click on the Format tab, and we've got two things that we'll be working on in the Word Art Styles group and the shape. Now we'll come to the shapes in just a minute, but let's focus on the actual words, the text, the characters themselves. And this is the Word Art Style, which is a combination of these three guys right here. The first is the color of the text. As we just went over, when you click on the drop-down arrow, you get your colors and it fills in the text or what you have selected down below. And I've got force selected, so when I choose yellow, it's just force that's going to be changed to the yellow color. And you got, more fill colors, eyedroppers, and ooh, you get more special options, like you can actually choose to have a picture when it comes to filling in the text. And so if you want to click on that, and you can either search online or browse on your computer, click browse. And let's go to pictures, double click sample pictures. Let's do a chrysanthemum, double click, and ooh, that force, if I didn't know any better, it looks like it was on fire. But it's a chrysanthemum, that's the picture or filling in the text there. So let's go ahead and undo that. Now notice how I don't have it selected, but because the cursor's flashing in it, it's selecting the entire word. So it looks at the space and it says, well, I'll just focus on the word here. But if I want everything to be formatted or have my formatting applied to it, then I've got to select everything. come back up here, click on the drop down arrow, and you can do gradients, how the color comes in. Is it lighter from the outer edge and then darker in the center? And then you can get to more gradients. So what you don't see here, when you click on that, it's going to open up the task pane over to the right and give you more options. Ooh, even more than that. But let's close out of that. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. And click on the drop down arrow, and you can also apply texture. And you've got more textures. Well, you can do something like hover over that, oak. In any case, there you go for the fill in effects. Click off. And then we got the outline, text outline. Click on that so it outlines your letters there, your characters in red. You see the preview down below in there? Alrighty. And you get the other options here like we saw before, except when it comes to the outline, you can choose a thickness, so you can really go crazy and make it super thick. You can see the preview right there. It gets pretty thick. And you can say, well, for the outline, how about instead of a solid line, we do dashes. And I don't know if you can see that. Oh, well, that's trippy. Yeah, I can see that. And you can do more lines, which again is going to open up the task pane. And we're going to close out of that. We'll cover that in just a minute. We want to finish up the rest here. So in addition to the fill, the outline, now you have effects. Click on that. And you can do shadows. Add a shadow to your texture, which I don't know if you can really see it because the background's dark. You can choose reflections, glow, ooh, something warm, glowing, glowing, warm. Click on that, and that you can see when I hover over it is 18-point pink accent color 2. Click on it, and I'll click off. Oh, that's a nice glow. Let's go ahead and select that again, and then come back up here. Click on the drop-down arrow. You can do something beveled, and hover over it, and you can kind of see the letters getting beveled there with an angle to it, and you get more options over here in the task pane. We'll cover that in a minute. 3D rotation, well, you can really flip this thing around, upside down and all around. Now when I hover over that, you are looking down below here to see the preview of it, right? Because if not, oh, you're missing out. There you go. You can also transform it and say, hey, let's do it in an arch. Cool. So you can do that, or like I said, if there's additional features for you to work on, you can click on one of these drop-down arrows, and then, when you get to the end of the rope and it says, here's more, you click on it, it opens up the task pane. Or you can come up here in the Word Art Style group and click on this expandable dialog box button. When you do that, it opens up the task pane and you get two options. You have the shape options, which is referring to the shape styles here. And we're not going to go over that just now, but we're focusing on the text options. I mean, we expanded it from the style, and that's the text. Hence, the text options is in bold. And you got three options here. You can do the text fill and outline, and then this one's the text effects, and it's just like we saw up here. Outline, effects. And then the last one, what do we have here? Ooh, let's hover over it, text box. So the text box itself, and let's go on the first one here, text fill and outline. So you can add a solid color for the fill, just like we went up here and clicked on the drop down arrow, chose a color to fill it in, or you can come down here and say you want a solid fill and click on the drop down arrow and choose something like that. Oh, that's not looking good. Let me click off. Well, in a way, it's kind of cool. In any case, go ahead and select it. And, oh, where are we at now? Oh, you see how it changed? It went from text options to shape options because, well, when I clicked in the text box, the shape, it wants to divert to that. So I have to come back up here if I want to work on my text options again. And we're back to our solid fill. Now, in addition to being able to color it in, with the other options that we learned up here, that we found out up here, with gradient, have a picture like a chrysanthemum or a pattern fill, which is there if you want a pattern, but you also get transparency. So if you want to click and drag that so it's more transparent, oh, that doesn't look good at all. I better keep it pretty solid and not too much transparency. And then you got the text outline, which is up here. We chose the outline from that, or you can have a solid outline, and it defaults to this color green. And if you don't like that, let's scroll down. You can change the color there. You can change the width, as we saw up here. You can also change the dash type, and then the cap type, flat, round, the cap meaning at the end, and then the join type where it joins together. I mean, you just got a lot of options here, so it really gets detailed. Okay, so that's for the text field, text outline. Then the next one is the effects, which is what we saw here when we clicked on the drop-down arrow. So the first one's a combination of these two fields. The last one is just all the effects. And it gives us more than what we see here. So when I came down to 3D rotation, I'm like, oh, this is all you got? Have you got more? When I come down here and I click on that, it opens up the task pane, and you see it right there, 3D rotation. So if I just, since I'm here, expand it, you get additional options. In fact, you can get more particular. With your X rotation, You can do it, well, by the mouse going this way 15 degrees, 30 degrees, or that way, turning it around, and you can see it over here being flipped. Or you can go ahead and just type in a number and do it numerically there. And if you want to go back to the way it was, click on Reset. So there's for the text options, and I'm not really in love with it. I mean, we do have the word art style here that's already been applied to it. And what's word art? Well, let's close out of here and come back up here. It's a combination of these three. So if I come down here and select it, and I come back up here, click on the More button, and I hover over that, you see down below, you get the preview of it, right? And this one's called Gradient Fill Turquoise Accent Color 4, Outline Turquoise Accent Color 4. Okay, so if I don't like any of those, if I clear the word art, it's going to clear the word art that I had before. Let me click on it, and I go back to this. Ugh, I don't like that. So let me hit undo. What I can do is if I want to clear anything that's been applied to the word art, what we had there previously, I can come up here and click on the Home tab, go to the font group, and click on Clear All Formatting, and we're back to where we started with the original word art. Isn't that kind of a sneaky trick? In any case, that works for me. Now let's come back up here, click on the Format tab, and let's focus on the shape itself. So you got the shape fill. You can click on the drop-down arrow and hover over color, and it fills in the entire text box or shape with gold accent 3 lighter 60%, and that's just not doing it for me. I probably won't choose any of these because that's okay. In any case, you can click on those. You get the same options, same concepts. You can do more color, and you get your honeycomb and your custom here. Click cancel. And so if you want to fill it in with something, great. And you've also got the eyedropper you can pick or choose a picture. Gradient, if you want to choose something here or do more gradients. So it's pretty much the same thing as what we covered here, but instead of for the text, you're doing it for the shape. And then you got the outline of the shape. Oh, look, I thought it was going to stay green there. And there's the outline of the shape. If I hover over any one of these colors, it looks all right. And just the same thing. You're just choosing an outline in various ways here. And also the thickness, if you want to make that outline super thick, or if you want to go with dashed, there you go. So there's that. Let's click off and let's hit undo. I don't want it to outline it like that. Again, we're just focusing on the shape, not the text. And then you have the shape effects. Click on the drop down arrow. And it's just like you have it for your text, your shadow reflections. And do we want a shadow? It's not going to show up there because of the dark background, but hey, how about something glowing 18 point? I don't have a color selected for it. Let's do a shape fill real quick. And now you can see the contrast, the blue with the glowing effect. Okay, it's not looking pretty, so let me hit undo a couple of times, or there we go. You've got all that, or you have a combination of all that with your shape styles. Click on the drop-down arrow for the more. You can hover over that, and as you hover over it, it gives you the name of it, and also you can see in the preview, well, the preview of it down below. And so something like that, I guess that could be okay. I wonder how that blends. And that one is Intense Effect Pink Accent 2. Click on it, and we're getting pretty wild here. In any case, you do have the expandable dialog box button that opens up the task pane over to the right. That instead of doing the text, you're now working on the shape options, which includes the fill here, and the extra details down below. And then you also have the line, the outline of it. And then you got your gradient stops, and what that means is that as it goes from one color to the next, well, I got quite a few. How about instead of going from light and then stopping and then turning it to this color and then going a little bit further inside to that color, how about if I just delete some of these gradient stops? Oh, there's just so many of them. And we just kind of do this. And then we change this stop, so when it goes from a light pink, it looks like a light pink, to something else, we can say that something else with that stop selected, click on the drop-down arrow, could be blue. Okay, wasn't my best choice, but you know where I'm drifting. So as we go from a light pink to a blue, and then it goes from a blue back to a pink and then a lighter pink, you see how that gradient goes? And then you've got the direction of it. You can change the direction of it, and well, it's kind of a nice little linear diagonal pattern from the top left to the bottom right. Click on that. Color choices aren't that great, especially with the Dreamforce here. In any case, you can go ahead and get more detail about that, and then you can go to the next option, which is effects. Just as with the text options, you got your shadow, reflections, glow, soft edges, and your 3D rotation, even for the box. You can go ahead and mess with that, and we can twist it down, and oh, look at that. That's horrifying. Let's reset. And then my experiment is not going as quite as beautiful as I'd hoped it would. And then finally, the last one here is size and properties. So the size of the text box, You can use the resizing handles and click and drag it to make it larger and automatically updates it here. Hit undo, or you can do it numerically and just type it in and say, look, I want it to be exactly 1. Hit enter. There's your 1 inch. And then you can see now it's of its original size, 109%. So if I scale it back down to its original size, which is 100%, oh, there we go. And when I scale it down vertically, it doesn't keep it horizontally unless I lock it. That means whatever I type in up here for the height or the width or for the scaling, it updates the other to keep the ratio the same. So one doesn't get longer or wider than the other. So if I go up to 1, then it updates the width. If I update the width, it updates the height, keeps it locked together. I can unlock that. And then the position of, like, it's the text box here, horizontal position is 1 inch from the top left-hand corner. The vertical is 4.75 inches from the top left corner. So horizontal is over 1 inch right there. We verified that. And from the top left-hand corner, it's down 4. Well, you see 3, 2. Well, you got to think of that as 4. Right about, well, just a little bit past that because that's half. So it's about 4.75 inches from the top. And you've got the text box here. Scroll down. Vertical alignments from the top. Text directions horizontal as opposed to rotating that or flipping it or having it stacked. And it's not stacked because I don't have it stretched down far enough so it can start stacking. So we're just really getting crazy here, aren't we? So you can see a lot of the extra options you get and how close the text is to your margins, top, bottom, left, and right. And so you can say, look, I want a greater margin from the left-hand side, so it pushes it out, and you can shrink that up. And then the alternating text, meaning that, as you can see in the pop-up, a title can be read to a person with a disability and is used to determine whether they wish to hear the description of the content. So you can say, well, this is the title. Dreamforce, the description, well, it's about our company, and we like to create training videos. You type it all in there. Now, after you created your blank presentation, or actually you're starting with the first slide, and that's the title slide, so you can add a title here and a subtitle. And if you don't add a title or subtitle, that's okay. It won't show up in the presentation where it says click to add. You will get a blank slide, you just won't get the text here. Well, let me show you. Come down here and click on Slideshow. You see how you get the blank slide? It doesn't say click to add. So let's go ahead and click Next. And you can see up the top, end of slideshow, click to exit, and we're back to the design view. So if you don't add something in the subtitle just for the title, don't worry about the bottom here. In fact, if you don't want the title slide at all, I'll show you how you can delete your slides in just a minute. But first off, let's go ahead and say that we want the title slide, but we want additional slides. So you can add our text and other content. And you can do that by coming up here on the Home tab to the Slides group. And there you go, new slide, the drop-down arrow. You can see in the pop-up, you can use Control+M, those shortcut keys, to add a slide to your presentation. Or you can click on the button. The difference between the two is when you click on the button, it will take and duplicate the slide that you have selected and add it down below. If you click on the drop-down arrow, hey, you can actually choose the layout of your slides. So if I go ahead and click off, and I don't click on the drop-down arrow and I click on the blank button, it should create a duplicate of the slide that I had selected. Did it? This is the title slide, and this is, hey, it didn't do it. Well, of course not, because PowerPoint says, hey, you got to have a title slide. So after you have the title slide, I'll just give you a generic, title and content slide. So you just add a title here, type in some text, or if you don't want to add text, you can come down below and one of these 6 icons you can hover over, and it says there in the pop-up you can click on it to insert a table, or you can insert a chart here, smart art graphic, pictures, online pictures, or a video. And you can also insert audio, but we'll go over all that in a later training video. Right now we just want to focus on how to insert and delete slides, even change the layouts if we don't want the title and content layout. But before we do that, let's go ahead and add another slide by coming up here. Like I said, you can click on the button or click on the drop-down arrow and choose your layout. So there's the title slide, title and content. Section header, so you can say heading this section of how to make chocolate chip cookies is making the dough. And then the next section, I don't know, making your own chocolate chips from scratch. And then down below to content comparison, which looks the same, right? Except you get a little box here in the comparison. You got title only, something blank. In any case, let's do to content. There we go. Like I said, whatever slide you have selected, if you come up here and click on the button, it will duplicate that. So click on it, and there we go. Now we have two of the same title and two contents. So you can type in text over here, and then over here you can insert like maybe a picture. So you can graphically illustrate what you're talking about, or vice versa, picture here, or two pictures, whatever works best, or two text in any case. Another way to add the same slide shortcut key is by selecting it without coming up here and clicking on New. You can just click on it and hit the Enter key. Hey, there you go. Now we have three of the same title and two content. Now to go ahead and delete them, you can right-click. I tell my students when in doubt, right-click. Chances are in that shortcut menu, you're going to find what you're looking for, generally speaking. And you can delete the slide. Ooh, you can also add a new slide. You can duplicate the slide. You can add a section. We'll talk about that later. So delete, and it's gone. Right-click. Let's go ahead and duplicate the slide. It's the same. Right-click. Let's add a new slide. And it's going to be the same. It's the same thing as coming up here and clicking on the button, but oh, now we're getting so many slides. Let's select that slide and hit the delete key on the keyboard. Click on that one, delete it. Click on that one, delete it. So we just have three slides. Okay, finally, if you want to go back to the generic slide here and you're like, yeah, I don't like this layout. Now, if you typed in something here, the title, and you added some text or images, a table, whatever, and you want to change the layout, it will not delete the content. It'll just shift the layout around. So we didn't add anything, so if we want to shift the layout now, that's fine either way, whether you have content or not. But to change the layout, you can do it one of a couple of ways. You can either come up here on the Home tab to the Slides group and click on Layout and say this one's going to be, well, to content. Click on that, it updates it. Or you can right-click in a blank area of the slide and go to Layout and then say, whoops, let's go back to, well, let's go to Comparison. And then there you go, the comparison. So like I said, the difference between the to content and the comparison is this box up at the top where you can add text. For to content, you don't get the extra text box to illustrate or to type in that you're actually comparing between one product and another, or objects. And you can, of course, also come over here when in doubt, right-click, and you've got your layout. Hey, you can change it here. Now, if you have another presentation out there that you want to be able to copy the slides over, reuse those slides, because if you already worked on it, created it, why shovel the same dirt twice or recreate the same thing? Just bring it on over. So I've got my presentation here that has a total of 4 slides. Let me minimize that down to the taskbar. And I have another presentation, GOPS. Double-click to open it up. And it goes to Paranormal Society. We have our annual meeting, and then slide 2. Schedule for today, and then the bulleted points. So if I want to go ahead and use one of these slides in my other presentation, like I said, one of the things we can do is copy it, and you can do it one of a couple of ways. Like if you want both slides, then just, select one and hold down the Control key and click on the other, and then you can right-click and go to Copy. Let's just do one. Let me click down below to deselect that one, and let me go ahead and right-click on it and go to Copy, and that's it. Let's just go ahead and close out of here. Come back down to the taskbar to click on the button to restore that window. And let's go ahead and select slide 3. So whatever slide I have selected, when I click paste, it's going to paste it after. So I can either go ahead and right click and I get my paste options here, or you can come up here, let me click off. On the Home tab on the clipboard and click on the paste button, or you get your paste options there. So if I click on the paste button or Control V as in Victor, it pastes it in, but it keeps it with the same theme, so I don't get that other theme, the colors, fonts, and effects, but I do get the text. So if I want that other theme, I do have my paste options until I perform another action that it will cause this little tag to disappear. So if I go ahead and click on the drop-down arrow, there it is, use destination themes. So the destination is this theme, or I can keep the source formatting. When I click on it, it keeps its theme, its format. Oh, that's nice. And the other option, click on it, is to convert it into a picture. When you do that, it takes it and puts it on the slide that we pasted on. That would have come after, but now it's on top of it. And you still get your paste options if you want to revert back to a destination theme, so it's in its own slide. In any case, you got the resizing handles. You can click and drag to fit it there, however you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and with it selected, hit the delete key on the keyboard. Now that's one way. The other way, without opening up the other presentation, is to come up here. Well, before you do it this way, just make sure whatever slide you have selected, when you do it this other way, it will insert it after that slide. So slide 3 is good. Come up here on the Home tab in the Slides group, click on New Slide, and go down and to say that you want to reuse a slide in another presentation. Click on it, opens up the task pane, and it says, where's the slide? Let's browse for it. You do have what's called a slide library that we'll talk about in a later training video. And you can go to that when you build up a library of slides that you'll be using in future presentations. Well, that's your library. And so you can go ahead and choose one of those. But let's go ahead and browse for that file that's on our desktop that's called GOPS. Go ahead and double click on it. Automatically links it up and you get the slides that are in there, and it's got a total of 2. You can see when I hover over the first slide, it's got the title of it and that title of the slide. Well, they're both the same, so let's go down below and you can see the title of the presentation and then the title below that of the slide is scheduled for today. So to go ahead and add one, you can either click on it or, when in doubt, you'll get more options, right click. You can insert that slide or all the slides, a total of 2. You can apply a theme to all slides or apply the theme, the fonts, colors, and effects from this one to the selected slide. So if I just click on one, it adds it, but it doesn't keep the source formatting. I mean, you do get this option down below that you can check. And then click on it again to add it again, and it keeps the source formatting. So I have it listed twice, one without the source formatting, and then the one that had the source formatting with it. So with it selected, I'll hit the delete key and hit the delete key and uncheck that. And then if you just like the formatting that you want to apply to one of your slides, like again, back to slide 3, then of course you can right click and say, you know what? I want to apply the theme to this selected slide. Click on it and it updates it. Oh, that's unique. And then if I go ahead and I'm done and I close out, I'm like, you know, I really would like the original theme. Well, let's come up here, click on the Design tab, go to the Themes group, and now we've got, well, what's the original theme? I believe it's that one right there. The only way I'm going to find out is you can see how that one's highlighted in orange because that's the one that's applied to the selected slide. When I select another one, it highlights that one. Hover over it. That one's called Metro, and you can see it's used by slides 1 through 2 and then 4 in that little pop-up, and then this one, you hover over it, it's used by slides 3. So I can just go ahead and select that one and click on it, and we're back to its original theme. I'm going to show you a few ways you can go about reordering or arranging your slides. And in my presentation, I have a total of, click and drag, 9 slides, which if the slides again are too small, you can hover over the split bar here and click and drag in or out, or you can actually just go ahead and hold down the control key and use the scrolly button on your mouse to go one way or the other to zoom in or zoom out. In any case, so let's go ahead and rearrange these. We've got a total of 9, so if I want slide 2 here to be in between slides 3 and 4, you can either right click on it and cut it, or you can come up here on the Home tab, pair of scissors right there in the clipboard group, or the shortcut keys Control X. In any case, when you do cut it, collapses it, disappears because it's on the pasteboard here. So whatever slide you have selected, even if we come down here like slide 4 and we paste, it pastes it right after it. So you can paste it by right-clicking, and you get your paste options, as we talked about in an earlier training video, to use the destination theme when you paste it here, or you can keep the source as formatting. If the formatting was different, just keep that so it doesn't update to the destination theme or as a picture. In any case, you can do it that way, or click on the drop-down arrow, you get the paste options, or you can just click on the paste button and it pastes it, and you'll still get the paste options right there as long as you don't perform another action. So it'll be there. Click on the drop down arrow for me to go, yeah, let's keep the source formatting, but the source and the destination is the same. You can do picture, and it puts it as a picture on top of the slide that we had selected before we actually pasted it. And I don't want to do that. And well, you still have your paste options. So if we go back to destination theme, it puts it right back there. And then it gets rid of the paste options. So you can do it that way, or you can actually click on it, hold the left mouse button down, and drag. Yeah, right there. That works. Cool. Now you can do it that way, or another way is to change the views. And it may be helpful when it comes to rearranging your slides in this other view, because here you got it in column format, where the other view, up here, click on the View tab, go to the presentation views, is the slide sorter. Go ahead and click on it. You can see them all here in thumbnail preview, but not just in a column format. You also have, well, many columns. In any case, you can go ahead and, right click and cut. And then whatever slide you select, and you right click and you choose a paste option. It'll paste it after that slide, and you get your formatting options there. You can also click and drag around. And if you want to increase the viewing of your slides here, the thumbnail previews, you can come down and click and let's zoom out so you can see more of them, or zoom in. It's your flavor. And then finally, if you want to work on one of these slides, instead of going back to the normal view, which you can by coming down here and clicking on normal, or you can come up here on the, of course, view tab to the presentation views and click on normal. So either way, you're back to normal, right? Let's go back to the slide sorter, but we don't have to do it up here. We can come down here and click on it right there. You can see when I hover over it, slide sorter. In any case, to get back to the normal view, besides those two ways, is that you can double click on a slide and it takes you to that slide in the normal view. So you can go ahead and make your edits or changes or whatever you need to do. Now, if you need to select more than one slide to rearrange, of course, don't forget, we went over this in an earlier training video, but as a quick review, hold down the Control key and you can do something that's non-consecutive. So I have slides 7 and 5 selected, but if you want to do it in block selection, then go ahead and select a slide, hold down the Shift key, and click on the last slide that you want selected, and it selects everything in between, including the original. And then you can, well, let me scroll up with my scrolly mouse, or I can click and drag. Then I can go ahead and click and drag one, but you see how it moves all 4? Oh, isn't that nice? And I can just rearrange them like thus. You can see here I got a total of 4 slides. They have no color, well, or either content for that matter. But what I want to cover here is about themes and backgrounds. Now, most of the presentations I've enjoyed as far as appearance goes are those that have the same consistent look throughout it, like complementary types of fonts, colors, effects, and backgrounds. Something that flows nice. If you want something consistent but you don't have a whole lot of time, you can use what are called themes, or the themes feature. And it's found up here on the Design tab, and there it is, Themes. Now, a theme is a set of formatting options that includes colors, fonts, effects, which harmonize with one another or complement each other throughout the entire document and can be applied in a single click. For example, have you ever inserted an object into your document and you've got one object that has one color and you insert another and you want to give it a color but not the same color as the first one, but something complementary, something that's not so contrasting that it distracts the reader. Or, better yet, another example is font. For your headings, you have one type of font here. Well, let's go to the second slide. One type of font. And for the body of the text or the content down below, you want another type, but again, nothing that's so contrasting, just enough to delineate between, hey, this is big and bold and beautiful. This is the title, and this is something that's small and not the same font, or you can keep it the same font. Just make sure the size is a lot smaller. In any case, to apply one of these themes to see what it looks like, if it's something that you want as far as the fonts go, the colors, the effects, and like I said, you're in a hurry, just come up here and hover, and it gives you a preview. And you can see the color, the background color, you can see the text where it says click to add title, and also click to add text, the different colors. And so, wow, that looks pretty cool. And you can see when I hover over it in the pop-up below, the name of that is Spiffy. Yeah, I created it. Everything we do here at Dreamforce is spiffy. And so you can hover over others, and that doesn't do it for me. Well, you can click on the More button, see what else is available. Click and drag and scroll down, and ooh, that one's Celestial. And you can hover over these. In any case, you get the point. But once you find one that you like, even if it's one that you've already created, which I'll show you in just a minute how to do, select it, and it updates all the slides with that theme. So when you come over here and you click in to add a title, this is my title, it uses the font that you just saw there where it said click to add, and click off, and there you go. Now, if you don't like the font but you like the colors, or maybe you like the font but not the colors, in any case, you want a variant of that, and there you go, variants. Come over here and click on the More button, and these are the elements that make up those themes, or this current theme that I have selected. So for the color, well, let's see, we can hover over it, and you can see over here in the main working area how it updates. You get a preview of it. Ooh, there's the default Office 2007-2010 grayscale. In any case, you can just select one of those and then click on it to apply it. Or you can come down here and create your own custom color. Click on it. Ooh-wee, you got a lot to work with. So you have the, well, text background dark 1, and then light 1, dark 2, light 2, and then you get these samples over here, these previews, to show you the contrast between what you have a dark background with light text versus a light background with dark text. So you can see that the dark one here is for the light background, so that's red, and that's the light background, which is a cream color down below. So you have 1 to 2 versus the light text to the dark background, 1 to 2 there for the yellow, and then the dark blue background. So you can go ahead and change that and say, well, instead of yellow, let's go ahead and do something. Oh, it's got to pop out. I don't know if an olive green is going to do it. Let's try dark purple followed hyperlink lighter 80%. It does okay, and it looks like it does affect the objects, like a circle here. And you can play with that. Just make sure that it's contrasting enough that it doesn't blend in with the background, either as a dark background or light. And you got your accents, which includes, for your charts here. So the first accent for the chart and or other objects is blue, but you can change that and say, you know what, I would like something that is red background, 1 lighter, 40%. And it updates that, but also updates other objects, including squares or smart art that you may have inserted there. So it gives you a preview. And then when you're done, well, like I said, we do everything here at Dreamforce spiffily. And so I'll go ahead and give it a name and click Save. And if you're like, I don't like any of that, click Reset, and you're back to where you started. In any case, let's just go ahead and do one change here, and then we'll save it so you can see what it looks like. And then go ahead and click Save. There you go. Updated the body of the text here. And so that's up here. Click on the drop-down arrow for your colors. And there it is, something spiffy. And if you want to edit it, right-click on it, go ahead and edit it or delete it. And it's gone. It keeps it as is. It's just not a future choice for you that you can click on it and choose, because it's gone. In any case, it does keep the colors there. So you can do it for colors. You can also do it for fonts. Now with the fonts, you have an uppercase A and a lowercase a. The uppercase A is for the title of the slides, and the lowercase is for the body of the text or additional text down below. And so there's calibre. And you can come down here and say, no, none of those work. Well, don't forget you got a scrolly bar, okay? So you can come down here and customize the fonts and say, well, for your headings, Comic Sans is fine, or better yet, let's do Monotype Corsiva. Hit the Tab key and you can see a sample of it. And then we can do Comic Sans for the body. Hit the Tab key and then say it's your spiffy text, because it is spiffy, and click Save, and it updates it. Oh, that's fun. Click on the drop-down arrow, and so you see how we're customizing the elements that make up our theme. So we may have chosen a theme here that we liked, and we don't like part of the elements, so we can change that. The effects you can't customize, but you can set it and say, well, if we had some shapes here, as I hovered over it, it would update it with like Riblet. Oh, that's a funny name. Or something glossy, and it will update all the slides with that. And then click on the drop-down arrow, and then background styles. Well, you can choose, that's horrifying. Or you can format the background, opens up the task pane, and then as we covered in an earlier training video, with the colors, it's the same thing with coloring your text, or the same process with coloring a text box as it is for your backgrounds here for your slides. So you can choose a single color. It doesn't have to be gradient fill. You can go to something solid. I like gradient, that's nice. In fact, the color is great there. But like I said, you can change it around. And the type of gradient, you want it linear instead of radial, from the inside out, outside in, and the direction of it from the bottom left-hand corner. Well, there you go. Yeah, see, that just doesn't work for me. Why mess with perfection? It worked. In any case, you can do that, add another little gradient stop by just simply clicking there and then changing the color so when it goes from the lighter blue to that stop, it wants to end at red. Oh, quick, undo, or select it and hit the delete key, and whew, good. So you see how it went from blue to red and then from red to blue. In any case, you can have fun with that. You can apply it to all the slides, just this slide, and if you don't like what you did, you can reset the background to the way it was, close out. And so those are all the elements that make up that theme. And if you like what you have here, and it's a variation from what you selected, then you may want to save that theme. So you can click on the drop-down arrow. Let's see, this presentation's got this. It's spiffy, used by all slides. And that's from another one, but if you're like, yeah, that's fine, let's do a spiffy number 2. Let's come down here and say that we want to save any changes that we make. Click on Save, and it's going to take you right to the Documents theme folder. Oh, there's my original spiffy, and this is my second spiffy, so it's spiffy number 2. And click Save, and that's it. Now that's always going to be available in future presentations that you create by coming up here, clicking on the File, going Backstage to New, and then clicking on Blank Presentation. And then when you're like, ooh, I really like that spiffy number 2 design, come up here to Design, and do we see it? Spiffy 2. There you go. Click on More, and it's in its custom areas here. And if you want to right click on it, you can go ahead and choose if you want to apply it to all slides or just one slide, the slide that you have selected, or if you want to delete it. Oh, that's sad. Let's go ahead and say yes, and it's gone. Close out of here. It's still applied to this. It's just no longer available. Well, it is here, but not in future presentations. Now, when you're working on many slides, you want to be able to navigate around them pretty quickly. And so I got a total of, let me click and drag the scroll bar, 8 slides. So you can see I've got slide 1 highlighted, and of course when I hover over it, it gives me the title of the slide. So if I want to be able to get down to slide 4, you can use the mouse, of course, or you can use the up and down arrow keys. You can also use the page down, page up, that works as well. You can also use the home key, takes me to the first slide here, and then the end key, E-N-D, takes me to the last slide. And then, of course, if you hold down the control key and you use the rolly button on your mouse, goes in and out, and you can zoom so it's teeny tiny. You can also click inside the working area and use the control key and scroll on the scrolly button to go in or out. In any case, I better come back here and just hold down the control key and click so I can get my thumbnails back up to something reasonable here. And then you can come over here to the right-hand side. You have the scroll bar that when you click on it, it tells you what slide you're on, slide 8 of 8. It doesn't have a title, but when I do drag it up, it tells me, oh, there we go. Now I'm on slide 4 of 8. That does have a title, Visit Us Today. Let go, takes me right there. Nice. And then down below that, you've got the down arrow, which goes down slide by slide or up slide by slide. Or, of course, you do have the double arrows to previous slide. Does the same thing. And go down to the next slide. Every time you open up PowerPoint, the first view that you're going to get is the normal view. The normal view contains your thumbnail preview that whatever you select over here is going to update over in the main working area for you to work on that slide. And then down below, you'll have notes that you can add, and these are speaker notes. So when you're giving a presentation, when you want to go over a lot of information, I wouldn't put it up here on the slide because the purpose of PowerPoint is to highlight key features like images, some key text there, and not have it all there. So the purpose of the notes is that you can read from them when you hit a slide, and then for them, they can just focus on the key points, but hear all the details about it as you read them from your notes. Now, I don't know about you, but maybe there's some things or actions I need to perform during the presentation, so if I don't have it all memorized, it's a good idea to come down below and type in some text or whatever you want to be able to remind yourself during the presentation. Now this is printable, the speaker notes that we'll cover in a later training video. Actually, you'll see it here as a preview of it. But what it does is it'll have a picture of the slide up at the top of the page, and then down below all the notes that you can print off that page and read from it. And look at the top of the page to compare the slide that you're looking at to the slide that you're giving during the presentation that is going to be projected up on the wall from the PowerPoint program. So this is the normal view, and if you don't see the notes area here, then you may want to come down below and click on notes. Well, that collapses it. Click on it to expand it. And if you don't have that notes command on the status bar, go ahead and give it a right click anywhere on it. And there you go. Well, I deselected it. Let me check it. Now it's back. Click off. And so here's the normal view. To find out the other views and what they're about, come up here and click on the View tab. Go to the Presentation Views group, and there you go. That's normal. And you can see when you hover over it, it says you can edit your presentation slide by slide and navigate with thumbnails by using the normal view. And see if this makes sense for the icon they have. They have 3 little boxes over the left-hand side. That's your thumbnail preview. And then you've got your main working area here. And then below that, well, a little line. So it's for your speaker notes. So you got the normal view, then you have the outline view, which when you click on it, it updates the thumbnail preview into an outline. So your focus here is not on the images, but it's on the text. So if you just want to work on the text and not have to scroll through and find out which slide has what text, I mean, it's all there, right? And so whatever I do here, let me click, and I delete like O, it updates it over here in the main viewing area, working area. And well, you can do it vice versa. You can come over here and type in the O. But if you want to work strictly with text and be able to see exactly what's on the slide, all basically in one view, well, here you go, at least until you get so many that you have to start scrolling over here in the outline view. And then another thing that you can do in here is, that's pretty cool, is that when you hover over the border of one of these sub-bullets points, you can actually promote that to its own slide. You see how you got the four-way arrow? Well, that means you can move it in four directions. You can either move it to the left, which promotes it, so you can see Office 2016 training videos right there. When I hover over it, click and drag it over to the left, it promotes it, and now it's its own slide. So I can hover back over it, click and drag it to demote it, and now it's a sub-bullet point to, well, where it was originally, the on our website title of the slide here. You can do it that way, or let me click off and right-click on it, get the mini formatting toolbar, and you can go ahead and decrease it so it's not indented. It's decreased the indent. It's gone to an outdent now, so it's promoted. Hey, congratulations, you're your own slide now. But hey, let's go back. Right-click on that, and then let's go ahead and increase the indent, and we're back to where we started, where it's a bullet point to the title here. And you can do it to these sub-points too. You can go ahead and click and drag that out, and well, you can go all the way out here, but it gets a bit tricky for me when I want to, let me hit undo, get it to the level that the bullet point above it is at. So it's just easier for me to right click and use the mini formatting toolbar to, well, there you go, now it's at that same level. Let me go ahead and hit undo. You can also click at the beginning of it and hit the tab key and it will indent it. And then to outdent it, hold down the shift key and hit the tab key and it goes back out the other way. Shift tab, holding down the shift key, tab, and it's its own. At the beginning, still there, hit tab, demote, hit tab, and we're back to where we were. Like I said, you can move it in four directions, so instead of promoting it, outdenting, or indenting it, you can click and drag, and when I click on that, it selects everything below it that's tied to that are subtopics to the main topic or the main bulleted point. Or how about something a little bit more simpler? How about if I click on this guy, that little bullet point, and I say, well, I want you below this other one, so drag it to rearrange it. To me, that's a little bit easier just working and focusing on the text than coming over here and working with these text boxes and then trying to select it and click and drag. Although you can do that and updates it over here, but in any case, for me, when I want to focus strictly on the text, it's a great way to go in the outline view. Okay, moving on, let's come back up here and go to the slide sorter view, and you can see in the pop-up, see thumbnails of all slides in your presentation to easily rearrange them. I mean, we've done this in an earlier training video, but click on it as a quick review. We'll go over other advantages or features in this view, like when you add timings to your slides, you'll be able to see them here, and also to work with those slides that you want to be hidden during the presentation. In any case, we'll keep it simple, so you can click and drag to rearrange your slides. You can right-click to cut them, as we talked about in an earlier training video. And if you want to be able to see more of your slides in this view, you can click and drag to zoom in. Or you can go ahead and hold down the Control key and use the rolly button on your mouse to zoom in and zoom out. And so there's the slide sorter, which is also available down here on the status bar. So you have the normal view, slide sorter, reading view. We're not there yet. We got the notes page. You can see when you hover over it, see how your presentation will look when printed out with notes. Each page will contain one slide. Well, let's go click on it. Each page will contain one slide and notes if you have any. And you see how it's cut off. If you want to see it in its entirety and not have to kind of scroll up just a bit, come down here on the status bar and click on Fit Slide to Current Window. And there you go. So we have a total of 4 slides. I'm on slide 4. I don't know if you can see it in the bottom right-hand corner, but that's teeny tiny. And so you've got the slides. So when you print this off and you get to the slide and you're like, oh, it's dark and I can't see what slide I'm on, you may need a little flashlight to be able to look up to see the slide here and then go, oh, okay, here are the notes down below that I can go ahead and read on this page for when we get to the slide. And you see how I clicked in there? It's just like a text box. You can go ahead and
type in any spiffy notes you'd like. I can't even see it, so it could be misspelled. You'd like here. In any case, you can zoom in if you want to be able to get closer to read it. In any case, whatever changes you make in here in the Notes Pages view will also update, well, in the normal view. So type in any spiffy notes you'd like here. So when I go to the normal view, and I'm on slide 4, type any spiffy notes you'd like here, and delete that, and then go back to the Notes page, type in any spiffy notes you like. Okay, so vice versa. And there are other reasons why you may want to come to this view when it comes to working with your speaker notes, the Notes pages, and we'll go over those in a later training video where you can actually resize the thumbnail here. Click and drag as a sneak peek. Click in the text box and resize that. You can stretch it and make it, well, if you got a lot of notes that you want to print off, and there's some highlights there. Next is the reading view. And it's just like reading a book. As you can see in the pop-up, play your slideshow in the PowerPoint window to see animations and transitions without switching to a full screen slideshow. So click on reading. And it's just like a book, you know. Next, flipping the pages, going through, flip, flip, flip. And then when you want to get out of here, remember you do have your status bar. You can go to the normal view, slide sorter view. Let's go to the normal. So we're back on the view tab, and we covered all of these. And then last but not least, which we'll cover in greater detail in a later training video, is when you want to go ahead and begin the slideshow, which is down below. There's the slideshow button that you can click on to begin your slideshow. And I'm on slide, let's go to slide 3 and click on begin. And it's right there. Takes me right to the slide that I had selected in the design view in the actual slideshow presentation view. Hit the escape key. Another shortcut is the F5 key on the keyboard. But that does not take you to the slide that you have currently selected. It takes you to the beginning of the presentation. Hit the escape key, but let me go to slide 3. If you hold down the shift key and hit F5, well, there you go. And like I said, we'll cover this in greater detail in a later training video. Hit the escape key to get out of the presentation, or you can click through to go to the end. And there's the end of the slideshow, and we're good. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please see the description below this video.